Now Sweeney, Dwayne Sweeney! Sweeney's over!
Can you please hand it over to your captain, Dwayne Sweeney?
Welcome to Real Tales with Sweens, proudly brought to you by Fish City Hamilton. Fish City has been servicing the Waikato's fishing, boating and outdoor needs for over 30 years. And now, with the help of their online store, their great range of products and outstanding customer service is available across New Zealand. Those of you that are long-time listeners of the podcast will know that I really enjoy helping local businesses with strong values share their brand story. And as you will hear, Ironclad definitely fits the mould. As a company, Ironclad was founded in 2019 and since have been producing cast iron cookware with a 3-generation guarantee. During this podcast, you'll hear an awesome tale of passion, perseverance, and loyalty. We cover some awesome topics such as starting a company in a global pandemic, losing it all overnight, and rebuilding. We also get to know Joe and Kate and what really drives them to produce such an awesome product. As always, the show notes will be available on Real Tales with Sweens Instagram and Facebook pages, as well as the website realtaleswithsweens.com. The legends at Good George have a 15% discount available for all you listeners. Just use the discount code REALTALES before checking out of their online store. The link to their store is also available on the realtaleswithsweens.com homepage. Lastly, special thanks to Kate and Joe for their time. It was awesome to connect and it was great for me to hear your tale, and I can't wait to share it with all you listeners. So join me as we get to know the tale behind Ironclad. Enjoy the podcast. I have to be sitting here with Kate and Joe, the two co-founders, am I correct, of Ironclad?
Yes.
Which is, for me it's a really cool brand, and for the people that have listened to the podcast, you would have heard a few of the brand stories that I've helped people share, and know that I'm really keen to support local businesses, and Ironclad just jumped out at me straight away as one of those. Have been in contact with Joe for nearly a year now, I think. A year or two, and it's been an interesting year for the business, and the Auckland floods and everything. Hard year.
Yeah.
But I'm just really grateful for you guys to sit down with me and give some time and be able to, I suppose, share that story of the brand and share some of the stuff that we've had to deal with in the last year, and it'd be a great way to connect, your customer base a little bit further, and hopefully some new customers. And I think it aligns as a brand, really well to my listeners. And so I'll just start. We might as well start off with Kate. Just have a brief introduction, and we'll kind of go from there.
Sure. Well, Joe, myself, and my husband started Ironclad 2018. I think we started getting it together. Before that, I was in graphic design and ran my own freelance sort of gig for a long time after working in big agencies, New Zealand and over in England and New York too. But it was good to come home after being away and get back into working in New Zealand. But it was a shift going from graphic design and then into product design for the first time. So it was a really cool challenge.
And then my background, I guess, is I moved from England to New Zealand 6 years ago, and worked with Levi, Kate's husband, at the advertising agency that I joined, and loved this idea that they'd landed on, and said, I really want to help bring this to life and make it famous and get as many of these objects into Kiwi homes and international homes as possible. And my background is more of a generalist. I'm kind of the round peg in a square hole. No one's ever really known how to place me.
We try and give you job titles, but it doesn't really work, because then you do something else completely different.
So it's all good fun.
Nice. So Ironclad, where was it birthed from, and I suppose maybe speak to the company itself and what it does.
Yeah, so I guess the three of us were sort of all jamming at the same time. I think Joe and Levi were talking more at work. I wasn't at the agency then, and I was talking with Levi at home. But it was about creating a really cool, engaging brand story around a product. And at the beginning we were like, oh, what is this product? And Levi and I had a range of skillets that were handed down to us, and we were kind of like, well, what about one of these? These last forever. This would be a really cool daily use object that people could build. You build a relationship with it in a weird way, you know, because you're using it every day. And we've got 2 young kids, a 7 and a 10-year-old. At the time, my 10-year-old was 7 when we started, and he's like a little environmentalist, like full-on eco-warrior. And weirdly, it was sort of listening to him a little bit as well, just being like, this product has to tick all the boxes for the future generations. It has to be planet friendly, like this has to be a good, sustainable product. We can't make something that's going to mess up the planet. That was a big tick box. What else? So it was like family, sustainability, and quality are our kind of like 3 core values.
I think I spent around a decade selling things with really short shelf lives. Whether it's toothpaste or toothbrushes or cheese or whatever it is that are kind of designed to be used once or over a short period of time. And so being able to make something that would last was really important to us. And there's not many products on the planet, if any, that get better the more that you use them. Most things tend to deteriorate with use and time, so it was really nice to be able to make something that you can kind of make your own, but also gets better with use.
Well, it's quite interesting, like you think of the I guess the modern world we live in and the technology age. Everything has a short, like you're saying, a short shelf life. Like look at the biggest brands in the world, like Apple for instance. Every year they've got a new phone. GoPro's got a new camera every year. Like there's always, like they're always trying to on sell where you know get you to a point where you're like hooked, and then it's like, okay, I need to get the next one now. Where this is like the opposite. This is going back to like, you know, generations ago, when you buy something, you buy right, and then you look after it. And I think how I can kind of relate it to my listeners, like I have a lot of, you know, I'm into hunting, and it's like an old rifle that, you know, I've got a rifle that my dad used to have and his granddad had it, and you look after it, that rifle will last generations, but if you don't, like it won't. So, but it creates a connection or a story to that as well, you know,
and
like you're saying.
Through your family. That's a really nice thing to think that your grandfather used the same rifle that you still use. That's cool.
So how does it go from, like, to me, it's pretty cool how it was, you had the knowledge of brand and how to, you know, tell a brand story, and then you whittled it down to, okay, what's our core values, and then it's like, all right, and now it's a skillet. So how do you go from, which is cool in itself. I'm a big country music fan, so I like Luke Combs, and he talks about, you know, using his old man's skillet still in one of his songs, and it is something that becomes, you know, like a family heirloom. So, but how do people with a marketing or graphic design background go into like, all right, we're going to make cast iron skillets?
You kind of fall forward into it. I don't know. We love the idea.
With great difficulty.
The reason why no one else is making them in Australia and New Zealand is because it's really hard. They used to make them in the 60s and 70s, I think, in some of the foundries in New Zealand, but no one was making them when we started doing it here. It was really hard, and it was a huge challenge and a huge learning curve, and we sort of all deep dove into like what you were on Reddit and stuff, weren't you, on cast iron like blogs and figuring out all the little, you know, enthusiasts, what the enthusiasts were talking about. And we had heaps of samples and heaps of trials, and I learnt the processes. I was like the foundry's worst nightmare. They used to entertain me, I think. I'd go in there and ask a million questions and put on the high vis and the boots and the glasses and want to see exactly how it was done and make sure that it was quality tested. And I mean, we've had a lot of errors. You know, we've had patterns that didn't work. But not taking no for an answer often has been like the key to pushing through, because people don't want to do hard stuff. They just want to make the sewer grates and the park benches and the fence posts and stuff like that the foundries are, you know, make regularly and railway tracks in Australia.
Not our intricate, like meticulously crafted,
hand finished
product.
But they do it because I'm really nice to them. We pay them, obviously. But yeah, I guess in answer, it's been hard, but like a passion project. It just seemed so worthy, and the bond that you were talking about through the generations, that culinary bond was a real driving factor as well, because I think in the same way that smell, you know, is connected to memory, and then I think the food and the taste and the flavour is also connected to that family tradition, that heritage, and that's a really emotional, motivating kind of thing for all of us.
Yeah. And this was our first try at making a product for any of us. Like, none of us had made a physical product before. So it took us several months to get to something that we were happy with, of, you know, research and design and testing the pores and manufacturing and changing the pattern, all these little things. And I think we'd have been stoked if we sold 10, like just to family and friends. That would have been a result for us. And then somehow it kind of turned into a business, and we all left our jobs and we're all full-time on it.
Yeah. So when you originally started, it was a side project?
Yeah.
Like a passion project as such?
Totally.
Yeah.
Side hustle. Joe had full-time job, so did Levi. Levi's only just come full-time this year.
Yeah.
And I still was running Cottonwood, which is my graphic design sideline studio thing. But it's just Ironclad's just taken over.
Yeah.
It got big. Yeah. And we're still learning as we go, you know, like, because growing a business is like a whole other ball game. Like Joe said, if it continued at a low level, sell a few pans here and there, we could have kept it as a side hustle, I guess, quite happily. But
I think there was this point, like, we all watched Dark Waters as a film, which is Mark Ruffalo talking about Teflon production at DuPont, which is kind of where it originated, and all the harmful things around Teflon. And when we realised that this was still going on, it wasn't just a movie, and hundreds of millions of people around the world are using non-stick pans that have chemicals in them and then throwing them into landfill. So, okay, we could, you know, keep it small and, you know, make a couple of thousand of these a year, or we could really try and grow it and make a meaningful difference in lots of people's lives. And we kind of fell into the latter. Whilst trying to keep really small as a team, the business around the team has kind of grown and evolved into multiple products, multiple countries over time. But that doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen without a whole bunch of support from incredible chef and media and influencer partners, and of course customers that have just been incredible from day dot in terms of recommending us to other people.
And giving us feedback. That's been another really cool thing about being a small team, because we're all on the tools and on the replying to customer emails and stuff. We get a great connection, and we hear awesome stories, And then we get people saying, I think you should make a bigger pan, or I've got a big family and the 28 centimetre just doesn't do it, kind of thing. And you can go, okay, I want to listen to that, and I'm going to do a big ass pan.
Yeah.
So we did the big grand, because we had so many people saying, I've got a big family, I want to, so it was, having that, being still on the tools and that connection has been pretty awesome.
Yeah, well, it's a good way to make instant change too, as well, instead of it having to go through a big chain of command to then sometimes there can be a little bit of misalignment on the way to the top, and someone might go, Kate and Joe wouldn't really be interested in that, I'll rush that to the side, and then that email circles back up 18 months later, and it's like, man, why didn't we jump on that? But it's just but being able to deal with it at the coalface, so to speak, then it's a good way to make I guess instant change.
Yeah, definitely. Being agile is really important.
Yeah, it gives us room to be pretty quick with things, which gives us competitive advantage, but also because we're working for ourselves, like it's our own thing, which sounds normal if your listeners are already in a product-based business and doing their own thing. But when you've worked in the service industry for clients for so long, 90% of things that you make don't come into reality.
Yeah.
It's only the 10%. Whereas here we've kind of got, I don't know, not the power, it's the wrong word.
The ability.
Yeah, the ability
get it out there.
To get it out and bring it to life, and to listen to people and move quickly on that. Yeah, which is great.
Was there like one key moment that you can kind of define where it went from passion project to just was there one catalyst for it to just go boom into what it is now? Was there one?
I think there's been a few.
Yeah.
I think the first one was pretty much when we launched at the start of a global pandemic. Which
timed perfectly.
Most people would say is commercial suicide. But everyone was at home, everyone was cooking with friends and family, a little bit more disposable income, not going towards travel or coffees or whatever. And overnight I think we sold 100 pans, literally overnight. And prior to that we'd probably sold 10 or 15. And that was kind of a pinch ourselves moment, maybe we've got something here.
Yeah.
And there were moments of great support and call out from people, chefs and things on TV, and then that was a huge.
Yeah, there were multiple moments. Peter Gordon on Country Calendar, just giving us a 3-minute shout out. You luck yourself into some of these things.
Well, you got to be in there to this is my always get asked what's your favourite quote or saying or whatever, and there's one that I always go back to my old man used to always say to me before rugby, because I'd always go to leave the house and I'd be like, good luck, and Dad would always say there's no such thing as luck, you make your own luck, and that would be the one thing that he would say. And then it's so true though in life, you've got to, you can say I was lucky, but you still, that pan had to be in that person's hands, they had to use it, they had to, I guess, fall in love with it to be able to promote it for 3 minutes. They wouldn't have done that if they hadn't if they didn't respect 100%. The product. So what the work that goes into putting the pan in that position is that's the making your own luck, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
I think there was a moment as well when Felicity Morgan-Rand joined us as a co-owner of the company. And she's a film director by trade, but she was trained by Peter Gordon as a chef. And so she just took, I guess, the brand to another level, producing all of these incredible recipes for people to enjoy at home. And that kind of took us another step, before we could then go on, okay, we've got one pan, how do we turn that into a range of cookware that'll be, the last pan or pans you'll ever buy. Kind of had all those little springboard moments over the last 4 or 5 years. And a lot of moments of crisis as well,
Yeah.
which I'm sure we can go into.
Oh God.
Yeah. Do we want to go there yet, or keep talking about the positive stuff, or do we circle back to positive?
You're cool.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, long story short, we launched in Australia maybe a couple of years ago now. Signed the biggest kitchenware retailer in Australia, and Kitchen Warehouse is kind of our biggest retail partner, which was amazing. And started working with a whole bunch of chefs and influencers to really get understanding of culture in Australia and what the chefs want and what home cooks want. And Christmas, kind of as we were saying before we started this chat, is huge for us because it's such a popular gifting product. And Christmas had just been traction was amazing. We were all set up for this year, 2023, to kind of take off. And at that point, completely self-funded, like bootstrapped as a business, no external investment, a bit of financing from the bank and a couple of family and friend loans, but no outside capital, which is really hard to do, especially when your products cost so much to make and you're, I don't know, a percentage of every dollar is going on iron. Like it's kind of crazy when you boil it down to that.
Products versus service, it's hard to manage the stock levels and all that stuff.
And then, towards the end of January 23, Levi and I were working in the office late one night, just left, and a couple of hours later, the heavens opened, and we came back the next morning to find a line on the wall, which was about 1.5 meters high, of where the flood water from most of Close Hill in Ponsonby in Auckland had just smashed through our roller door, and so our warehouse was full with 1.5 meters of wastewater, which means everything that we'd worked for was destroyed, literally overnight. So you had this brilliant moment where you've worked so hard to get to this point where it's all the foundations are in place, we can really take off in New Zealand and Australia, only for Mother Nature to turn around and say, nah, think again. Which was quite challenging to deal with in that moment, both mentally and then as a business, because for me, I don't have kids yet, so this is my baby, this is my firstborn, and the emotional attachment that I have to the product and the business and the people within the business is huge. When you see it all washed away, it's
it was ruined though, it wasn't it was like someone had been in there and moved everything around. The furniture was all upside down and in a different place and covered in brown sludge. It was yuck.
So I don't know, we kind of just got on with it. We just got a couple of skips and chucked everything in the skip, unfortunately.
Yeah, we had to. The insurance companies were obviously overrun, so they were like, you better do your own cleanup.
Yeah.
But the community, there's always a silver lining. I'm an eternal optimist. The community just were incredible. We had a crew of 15 people come and help us in the mud sludge and get 2 skips out, and then we did that flood recovery kind of.
And people were pre-ordering from
sale.
Kind of the flood recovery pour. People already had our pans, but we were getting Christmas gifts early or Mother's Day gifts early or whatever it was. They just wanted to support us, which was kind of mind-blowing to have a response like that to this little thing that we've got. And there were a whole bunch of learnings that we took from it as well. Every crisis is an opportunity to learn, and I think we realised we didn't enjoy the responsibility of having a warehouse, here and in Sydney. So we started working with a third-party logistics company who do all our storage and fulfillment. now, and we kind of consolidated the team and brought it back to kind of the bare bones, which was really useful. And yeah, it forced us to think a little bit differently about the business and how we can streamline things, and it kind of feels like we've been recovering all year.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Like it was a pretty big gap between, you know, the insurance payout and what we lost. But we're still, at the time of recording, 17% up on 2022, which is ridiculous, really.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
It's
it's good.
Yeah,
It's good.
just a whole lot of added stress though.
Yeah, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
And it made its way into our capital raise that whenever this goes out, hopefully we'll have completed. One day to go at the time of recording, which we've had an incredible response to as well. It's an equity crowdfunding capital raise, which meant any New Zealander could become a shareholder in Ironclad, in the whole company, not just the New Zealand company.
That was a really conscious choice too. You know, it's felt like the right thing, getting our community behind us rather than just a single investor.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you make some noise and you make a quality product and people believe in it, and you see the traction, and you know, Lodge Cast Iron decide to turn on marketing in New Zealand and Australia, having never really historically marketed over here, people start to notice. And so, you know, the funds and the VCs turn around and say, you know, we're interested, and we're like, we're interested, but how interested? But as Kate said, you know, like, it's the community that have got us to where we are today, and we don't have a business without them. So being able to present them with an opportunity to invest in the future of the business was pretty cool. I'd never heard of it before, and then these guys at Equitize approached us, and we said, cool, let's do it. And if anyone out there is thinking about doing a capital raise, it is a second full-time job.
It's really hard work.
It is full on. So
Yeah.
make sure you create another 4 to 6 hours in your day to do it.
Yeah. And is that like ongoing work, or is it just to get it to that point of?
You get it to a point where the raise can go live.
Yeah.
In our case, because it was a crowdfunding capital raise, a little bit different if you're going more traditional route. And then it was just a case of promoting it everywhere we could. And yeah, at the time of speaking, we've got 201 new co-owners in the company, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they say like, it gets spoken about so much, and especially in sport, is like you learn more from your losses than your wins. So, you know, to hear, you know, like I suppose you're talking about the learnings that you took from, obviously, the terrible disaster that happened, you know, to Auckland as a whole, and let alone like to your business. It's like pretty cool to hear the light on the other side, because I did really think about trying to produce this podcast around that time. Just shortly after, I was like, oh man, this would be a great way to like give them a little bit of a platform to be able to share, you know, sort of who they are, what they're about, try and, you know, like I guess bolster, you know, that kind of pre-order that people are doing in terms of support. But like, it's actually quite cool hearing it now and hearing the transition of that period, and to hear the gratitude in your voice about, you know, the community and what the community done to help that out, and customers that already had your product buying more product just because they believed in you as people and as an organisation is pretty cool.
Yeah. It's a good feeling.
Yeah.
I think Kiwis and New Zealand in general are a pretty resilient bunch. It's definitely one of the things I've noticed since I've been over here, is that there never really seems to be a problem too tough for us to overcome. And obviously I resonate with the sports analogies in terms of creating your own luck and kind of failing forwards and all of those things. but asking for help is tough.
Mm.
You know, you want to do it on your own, or you want to do it as a small team, but actually asking for help works.
Yeah.
People want to help.
It's funny that, eh?
And yeah, so grateful that those people did help. And same during the pandemic as well, you know, kind of 4 or 5 months into launching the business, and you're told you can't manufacture anything for 3 months because you're not a essential service. And you think, you know, we've got all of these benefits of manufacturing locally, because, you know, we haven't got shipping containers getting stopped at ports, and, you know, production challenges overseas and cost of goods going up and all these things. And then they say, you can't manufacture in New Zealand anymore for this 2 to 3 month period. So yeah, we talk about ourselves as being crisis ready. I don't think it's a good state for any business to be in, is bring on the next crisis. But
no, don't bring on the next crisis. No more. We've had enough.
Yeah, I think we've had our fair share of crises. We're just excited for what the next few years looks like really as a business.
Yeah. I guess in the kind of immediate future, like leading into Christmas, like, is there any kind of big changes to the brand as such, and new products, or?
Not really. I mean, we've got a range of accessories that we're just launching at the moment, like more chopping board trivet type products, which means that you can bring the pan to the table and not scorch your table.
Yeah.
And
probably talk about the heirloom as well.
Yeah, and the heirloom is something that we've been working on since we started really, but it's taken us this long to get a super smooth, almost ceramic type finish to the cast iron, and that's hours and hours and hours of hand finishing, and it's like comes almost non-stick immediately. So it's next level cast iron. A very big labour of love, and at the moment seasoned by hand at home by me.
Yeah.
So it's sort of, there's a lot of time and effort goes into it, but that's also possible to get personalised. So you can get your family name and engraved in the base, or a short message or a slogan. You know, you can have your dad's "You make your own luck" in there. So that's a big new-ish release that's sort of leading up to Christmas.
And there's a whole bunch of things coming out next year that we'll talk about next year.
Yeah. So, like, I guess because like it's really cool for me to be able to, I guess, connect the brand to the customer base or the listeners, but what I also like doing is connecting, I guess, the people from within the brand. So like it would be really cool for not only me, but I'd also love to be able to share it to I guess a little bit more to your guys' like personal journeys, and if you're happy to share. So obviously, Joe, you were born and grew up in the UK.
Yeah, born in small town Ipswich, it's about an hour north of London, and big turning point for me, you know, privately educated, went to university, did what's expected, and then kind of carried on working in London for 6 years in advertising, and never really felt part of something, I guess. I'd always felt like I was a bit of a lone ranger.
Yeah, you said before, like round peg in a square hole.
Yeah. So it's difficult to feel part of a crowd when that's your childhood experience, but also your adulthood experience, you know. And oddly, when you kind of find your tribe, which for me is Kate and Levi, which I've probably not really said to them before, but here we are. You feel part of something, you know. And yeah, probably it took me 20 odd years to find those people. And there's something that I learned in advertising when I moved here, and just one of the slogans, which was the biggest risk is often the ones that you don't take, or something along those lines. And it was my younger brother, who'd been travelling as part of his OE, and he said, if I was going to move anywhere else in the world, it would be New Zealand. Having spent 8 weeks here or 6 weeks here. I think he told me that when I was struggling a bit in London to be motivated, and within 4 weeks I'd booked my flights, got my visa, and just came to New Zealand. No job interviews, no nothing, whatever. And then, when you talk about kind of creating your own luck, that's been my experience in New Zealand. It's kind of leaning into things that are uncomfortable and uncertain, knowing that good things tend to come out of it. And there's been a lot of times where during 4 or 5 years of Ironclad where there's been uncomfortable times, there's like uncertainty. I've never created a sales forecast or an inventory forecast in my life, and these are hundreds of thousands of dollars that you're kind of playing with, if not millions of dollars that you're playing with, and you've got to get it right. So yeah, I think for me it was about finding the people who are kind of part of my tribe, if you like, and going to any lengths to do it. And then when I found those people that really committing to it, like 100%, rather than just dipping a toe in. But that's just my experience.
That's cool. Yeah, because it's human nature, eh? Like we grow, all of us grow up, and we all at school you always want to hang out with the cool kids, and it's like, well, why are they the cool kids? You know what I mean? Like it's not till you get a bit older and then you think and you have kids of your own, and I see them, their behaviours and what they sort of do and who they hang out with at school, and then I remember I just like see so much of myself in my own boys, and I'm just like, and it's mum and dad saying, oh, you shouldn't be hanging out with that kid, he's like distracting you and whatever, and like all the same conversations, like history repeating itself again. But it's like, and even to the extent like this year with my coaching, and this will make sense shortly once I tell the story, but in terms of like we had this kind of epiphany moment in our season where we got to a point, things were, we were kind of thereabouts, sort of not performing that well, but had a whole lot of adversity sort of fall on us, lots of injuries, but we were kind of, we were still kind of like right there. And then a lot of the players felt really uncomfortable because we were doing something new, which like we knew, and we kind of knew this point was going to come. And it finally came, and we just basically just said, boys, can we just let it go? Like, why don't we just give this a crack? Like, we're here now, there's no turning back. Let's just for the next 3 weeks, just let it all go. And then we just played phenomenal, like for the last 3 weeks, and forced our way into the playoffs, and should have won that quarterfinal, but we didn't, but that's okay. But it was like, we were just so used to hanging on to something that felt, kind of comfortable, and then and it was familiar, and like we've got a really good head coach, good mate of mine, Floss, and he does a really good job of separating. We talk a lot about it, like in our team environment, but separating like facts from feelings. Like sometimes you can like feel a certain way, but is that actually the facts? Is that's what really is going on? And perspective helps that at times, and being able to sort of, I guess, find where you feel comfortable within, and finding your tribe, as you said, really helps you to be able to be open and kind of vulnerable, and to say, oh, I don't really understand that, or I really don't feel that comfortable doing this, and it's like, well, oh, neither do I, and then you're like, oh, okay, sweet, like, oh, I thought you had it all together. Like, no, I didn't. So, yeah.
I don't think anyone's truly got it all together.
Nah.
The world would be a really boring place if we did.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty cool. Thanks for saying that stuff, Joe. At one point we were joking about how Levi had to adopt you for something, but like for your visa or your residency.
Okay, we'll get my visa.
We were like, I'm not old enough to be your parents.
So now I'm engaged to a Kiwi and I'm
nice.
here.
Yeah, Lisa's pretty lovely too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has been a family thing, even though we're not technically family. It feels quite, well, because it's so small, and I think we work really well together as 3 characters. Yeah. Balance has been the hardest thing, and having our own, for me, having Ironclad as something that, grew as that side hustle and passion project, to taking over, and then even post floods, moving the office back home for me and Levi, and boundaries, like trying to figure out the boundaries of like, we can't really leave work, shut the door, go home, because work is at home, and I am literally seasoning those pans in my home oven at the moment. So it's kind of like, it's just every part of life, which I would love to get to a better balance with, but again, like, I think just like no one's got it all together. I don't think anyone's got or if you have, congratulations, got that perfect life balance between work and what you love and family and work. It's sort of the ongoing challenge, I reckon.
And it's like where I was kind of going with that story before too about our team. It's like, upon reflection, I caught up with an old coach of mine, and just obviously after my first season of coaching professionally, just as I guess just to bounce some ideas off and talk about how I felt the first season. I explained those sort of challenges that we went through, and he was like, "Oh, okay, well, what could you have done different to make sure that whatever that didn't happen?" And I kind of sat there, and it is something I'd been reflecting on already myself, but I kind of thought about it, and I was like, I don't think you can actually make that happen any quicker. And he kind of looked at me, and then, he's obviously a very experienced coach and been doing it a long time. And I was like, no, I honestly don't. And he's like, oh, there's always ways you can do it. And I was like, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I honestly don't think you can, because things need time to create change. And they're not going to follow me blindly just because I say, oh, we're going to attack this way, and then they're like, well, hang on, no one's ever done that before, why should we do that? And you can show them all the evidence, you can talk to them about how it's going to benefit them and how it's going to benefit the team and ultimately the game and whatever, but they've got that familiarity of like, yeah, but we've always done it like this and it works like this. But it's like, yeah, we could be the ones that go from this to that, and we could all of a sudden change the way that people view the game, and people might start copying us instead of all of us, because in New Zealand rugby a little bit at the moment, everyone kind of copies each other, especially on the attack side of the ball, because it kind of suits our DNA. A lot more, I guess, junior grades are more structured now than versus when I came through. When I came through, it was very much you just go out there and play, no game plan, just figure it out. Where now kids are getting drilled and coached a lot younger, which I personally don't agree with, but that's just my point of view. So then it's easy for them to continue that path, and everyone's kind of following the mold. But for us to get them to try and do something different was it was a challenge. But we got to that point at round 7. I would have loved it to have been about round 4 or 5, but in hindsight, you couldn't get it to that point, because you had to get it to quite a sticky point, because we actually needed them to put their foot down and say, I don't like it. And it's like, okay, why don't you like it? And then because we'd had the facts versus feelings speech at the start of the season, and as a team, we're going to deal in the facts, we're not going to deal in the feelings. So we understand that, okay, you've stepped forward and said you don't like it, all right, deliver us the facts to that reason.
Yeah.
And they couldn't. So then upon reflection, they're like, oh, actually, I just feel it doesn't work for me, not it actually doesn't work for me.
Yeah,
and then that was the let it go, let's just go and play. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, it was like magic happened.
That's awesome.
But it's only through that adversity that it got to that point, and quite often that's, you know, we spoke about it just before, like you take your best lessons from you know, your losses rather than your wins. That's a lot of that, I reckon, is the reason why, is because when you lose, it's you start to see things differently. Yeah. And then if you've got that right kind of, I guess, leadership or good people around you in those moments, that's where you get the really good learnings. But sometimes it's hard and it takes a lot of time.
And perseverance, from what your story there too. Like, it's just keep at it, keep going. It's quite sort of stoic, isn't it? I think you have to be like that in business too. Sometimes when it gets really hard, it's easy to get overwhelmed and just be like, oh, I just can't do this anymore. But then you got to go, no, I'm just gonna do this tiny thing and then this little thing, and then you creep back into it.
And you've got coaches and physios and 22 people in a team. How many people in rugby?
Yeah, 23. 23 playing now.
Nearly, right?
Yeah. So close.
We've squad about, our squad's 27 contracted, yeah.
All wrapped around breaking away from conditioning and how things are supposed to, supposed to be done with quotations, and going into this thing that's different, but probably going to benefit you. And it is the same in business. We just surround ourselves with great people who have probably experienced similar things to what we've experienced, and we ask them for help, we ask them for advice. And as I say, Kiwis are a generous bunch when it comes to that. And the balance is, to go back to Kate's point, the balance is tough. Because work-life balance, like, mathematically doesn't make sense. Traditionally, you work for 5 days and you have 2 days off. Like, that as an equation is not balanced. So it's never really going to be balanced. And I think there's like the postcard version of what an entrepreneur's lifestyle looks like, or what a business owner's lifestyle looks like, and it's beaches and it's cocktails and...
I'm still going to get there. Just letting you know. That is the game plan long term.
But you don't get there overnight, without a whole bunch of perseverance, with a whole bunch of hard work. And I think if you are like thinking of going out and doing your own thing, you've got to be prepared that it's not just at the start, when you're starting, that hard work happens. It's throughout. Like, you are responsible and accountable for everything that happens. And if you find that balance, just give us a call and teach us how.
Because like pressure's like, it's a moving thing too, right? Because it's like the pressure that you had at the start is will be very different to the pressure that you have now as business owners. But then that pressure is always going to stay there, like, especially if you're successful in anything, because there's always going to be, like, you're in this awesome position as a brand that in 10, 15, 20 years time, you were the ones that brought this way of thinking, this way of I guess telling this brand story and connecting families through through the kitchen, that people will follow this model too, and they'll be like, oh, how else can I, how can we take some of that market share, which is going to bring its own pressure as well. So you get to a point where it's like, okay, we can't just keep doing what we're doing, because now all of a sudden we've got all these, these other companies that are, kind of trying to do the same thing, which happens all around the world. Just like us.
To innovate.
You have to innovate, and you have to be. So pressure's always gonna be there, but it will just change what it looks like at different times. And you might be able to do it from the beach with cocktails, but there'll still be some sort of pressure.
At least for a couple of weeks. Come on.
100%.
That's good, and as much as I can sort of moan about it a bit, it's the satisfaction that you get out of the hard work that keeps you going too, or keeps me going, because it's like, oh yeah, that's right, I really believe in this, and it is worthwhile, and it's it does make you keep going.
And it's great coming here where we're recording, because we've got a little office where we keep a little reserve of pans, and it kind of just keeps me in check knowing that this thing is going to be in someone's family, like guaranteed for 100 years, just this one individual thing, and they're not, you know, a number on a screen or a name on a screen, like it actually means something. And the food that's going to be cooked, and the stories that are going to be told, and the smiles and the laughter and the crying that are going to be experienced over this kind of object, this iron object, is crazy. So I love coming back and you know, packing the pans and rolling up the guarantee scrolls and doing all the little things, because it's all the little kind of crafted moments that make the difference. And as Kate was saying earlier, you know, like, people compliment our social media team, and it's me, Kate, and Levi, you know, it's the founders of the business. But it's just amazing being able to be on the front line, and I don't think as a business we'll ever get too big that we can't do that. And it would be amazing if other CEOs of big companies did that as well, and actually listened to what people are saying. I think the world would probably be a little bit of a better place if they did.
You often see now there's a lot of like middle management. There's like a lot of places kind of grow, and like I kind of spoke about at the start, in terms of for you guys to be able to be so in touch with your clientele, is because you're the ones that were applying to you know, the feedback and different things that people, or questions I guess that people put through on social media and the website and stuff like that, you know, when you've got a layer of people in between, all it takes is for one small piece of alignment, or to get that to hit somebody on the wrong day, and then it doesn't make its way to where it should. Which, you know, is quite a common thing. Like, because I even with the podcast, like different just I guess conversations and stuff I've had with different brands and things, it's like I've hit roadblocks at times, but then if I've ever got to the decision maker person and been able to like create that connection, then it's like, I thought that, you know, because you have a perception of say a brand or a company, and you're like, I think this would be really aligned to, you know, what they do and what I'm trying to promote, etc. I reckon that there could be a relationship there. I use their products already or something like that, and then you kind of, you know, you go and talk to them and they're like, oh no, that's not really about us. But then you get to like the director and they're all about it because there's that alignment there. But it's like, okay, like, all right, why didn't I make it here originally? It was such and such was here, he's gone now, like, and you're like,
oh, okay. So important. Hey, it's hard. It's really hard to find the right team to have around you. Well,
it goes back to what you're saying there about the finding your tribe and your people. Like, that's where people become their best. Athletes are like that big time. Like, I noticed that a lot in rugby. I played in so many different teams over the years, but all the best performing ones always have a really strong culture. And culture to me is like, culture's not something that's magic. It's like, it's all the little repeatable habits that you have in with a group of people. If there's that consistency of, I guess, alignment to the values of what you're trying to achieve, and then you've got good people that have got good habits in terms of that are needed for whatever you're working in. So like rugby, like getting up off the ground is a habit. Like when you're tired and you get back up, that's a habit. That's not a choice. You know, it's just little, you know, customer service is how you greet people and that sort of stuff. You know, you're having a bad day, but you can still pay that person the respect when they walk into your business, because that's your role within the organisation. Then that's, you know, that's the culture side of it. It's not necessarily, and it's not about always feeling good either, because one of the teams I was in, we had a really successful culture, but we weren't all best friends, and that was okay because but it was in other teams we were all really good mates, but in terms of like a successful culture, we didn't have it because we never pushed each other. You know, no one to ask the hard question or to say you need to do this because that person, they knew ultimately that person wouldn't receive that feedback. So they'd be like, oh, I don't really want to upset him, I'll just carry on. And that's why we didn't get the winning results. But teams I've been in, when you're like, you're all there, you all want the same thing, you understand that there's going to be tension at times, but it's because you want to go this way, and then we're all trying to go that way. And if you know, then it's like, oh, it's not really my kind of place to be.
You've got to trust those teammates implicitly as well, right? Like in terms of the cultural piece. Like, it's not just there's 14 others on the team that make a good rugby team. Same in business, you know. It's not just us three that make the Ironclad Paint Company a good company. There's incredible supply partners. There's a whole bunch of people that make it work. And in your case, you know, if you're the hooker taking the throw and you've got someone 10 foot up in the air ready to catch the ball, you got to make sure that person's coming down and landing safely. And it's the same in business, you know. You've got that same commitment. You're throwing each other in the air, and you've got to make sure that you all kind of come back down and you're grounded and you're safe going forwards together. That was a very loose rugby analogy.
Oh, it's a good one though.
Sounds like you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's good to be able to talk sport on the podcast at times too. Here's a question. So like you spoke about perseverance before, and I spoke to you off mic when we turned up about success, and what I've noticed from all the people that I've been lucky enough to speak with through the podcast is passion. Like there's always passion for what they do, and because I can hear it very clearly, and I'm sure the listeners can too, in terms of your passion for the product that you provide and for your core values of what Ironclad is as a company. Here's a question, like, because I think about this a lot, is do you think that around the perseverance, like if you've got passion and the drive and you keep going, do you think that there's anything that, whether it's like Ironclad or anything else, that you can't do if you're passionate about it and you just keep pushing forward?
The romantic side of me wants to say, no, you can do anything.
Yeah.
But in reality, there's a whole heap of stuff that would be good. I think there's probably things in life where you should sit and make that call that it's not worth it. Like the perseverance, because it's all just not going to go anywhere. That would be a really hard call to make if it was something that you were passionate about. We haven't hit that point with the business, but I think, I don't know if I've had that before in life actually. I have to think about that one.
I don't know, I think
things.
passion is interesting because you can't run a successful business on passion alone. Like it just doesn't work.
But it helps you do the shit things there.
It does.
Yeah.
I think, if I'm passionate about candles, I'll go and work for a candle company. But if I'm passionate about candles and the challenges of running a business, I run my own candle company. And I think that's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Is I wake up every day for the challenges. I love the product. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the product. I couldn't cook very well at all before we started Ironclad.
Yeah, you
now
can.
I enjoy cooking,
Yeah.
which is, so often something we hear from our customers as well. Is I hated cooking. Now I love cooking.
Yeah.
Because you're using a proper thing to cook with.
Yeah.
Which sounds simple, but yeah, I don't think just throwing passion at something will make it work, and having the wisdom around that is really tough as well. Like the wisdom to know that it's not necessarily going to work is tough because you're so entrenched in it, and I've had that with other service-based startups that I've tried before Ironclad. I did one for event management and like brand ambassador staffing in London, and got 6 months in and thought, I am really passionate about being an event manager, and I love working with different brands all the time and doing this job and going to festivals and handing out pita wraps in streets and whatever.
Yeah.
Love working with the team. I don't like running a business doing that at all. I'm not very good at it. And it's when I speak to coffee shop owners, it's the first thing I ask them as well. It's like, do you still get to make coffee? Because a lot of like coffee shop owners, for example, are a barista to start with, and they absolutely love making coffee. Then they're in the business of running a coffee shop, and it's a totally different game.
It's like builders, Yeah.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
on the tools and
Yeah.
love it, but then
They end up having like 20-30 people work for them, and like that must be just such a change of dynamic, because
paperwork.
yeah, I know, but it's quite interesting, because if you wanted to run a business of 20 or 30 people, normally you would go through business school,
Yeah.
you know, but when you're a builder, or a tradie, like any sort of tradie, you do that and you get to a point where you're like, oh, I'm going to go, I want to be my own boss now.
Yeah.
So you go out on your own, and then that brand builds, and then your personal, generally the personal name is attached to, when they go out on their own, and then you build up a good reputation, and then all of a sudden staff come under that, and then, all of a sudden you're managing like 20 or 30 people. It must be hard for them.
Yeah.
Like without that knowledge of business. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a totally different skill set, like it's a soft skill set to be good with people. Your job becomes HR. At the moment I quite like it, because we get to operate, we get to execute, we get to plan, we get to do all of it, but very little kind of internal people management, which we'll get to at some point. But yeah, being able to enjoy the things that we're good at, it's great.
How do you find people management, Kate?
I quite like it.
Yeah.
I really like talking to our suppliers and the chefs and customers. Yeah, I do really like that side of it. The part I hate is the finances.
Yeah.
But because it's all like boring.
Yeah, there must be some scary numbers too now with the business growing. You look and go, whoa.
Yeah.
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 And I know that I could get paid better by someone else other than myself. I should really give myself a raise. But we've got a really cool new, and I think it's just about finding the right people. So we've got this really cool new guy who's joined as an external CFO, so contracting in, and he's just great. Like, he gives a shit. He's really, we're excited to have him on board. It feels like he's going to help us move the business forward and make it better on that side of it. So maybe perseverance is really important, but it's also like recognizing where your weaknesses are and calling out for help, like trying to find the right people to get you where you want to go. I reckon.
Yeah, because I sort of, like I said, in terms of, I guess, well, lucky enough, all the guests I've had, and that one, that kind of passion or that love for what they do that's always there. It's never not there. It's not like, I did this because I can make money. And it's like, I've never once heard that being said.
That was never the motivator before. Maybe that's where you should start.
But it's like, and I guess when you ultimately sort of boil it down, that's probably what stops a lot of people, because ultimately they like the idea, but they didn't love the idea. So it's like that love and passion to, like kind of, it's like relationships when you're younger. Like, you have a girlfriend and you might like her and things you like about her, but you're not going to marry her because you don't love her. So it's like that same kind of thing in life and business and sport. Like, I was a really good cricket player when I was at high school, and they tried to talk me out of going down the professional rugby track to play cricket, but I didn't love cricket. I loved rugby, so it was like, and they're like, oh, but you could be good, and I was like, no, I can't, because I don't even like training that much anymore. Like, I liked it, but I didn't love it. So I was just like, but rugby training I could do all day long. I was just like, I'd love kicking, passing, rather than bowling and throwing.
How good is it to know what you love? Like, I think that's a really awesome thing in our lives, but, you know, some people don't know what they want to do.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, really struggle to find that thing that they care about. I think it's, it's worth spending the time trying to find that thing that sparks joy in you and makes you want to keep doing it.
Yeah, because I never felt, my whole career, I never ever felt like a job.
Yeah.
Like, you have hard days and you have bad days, but you're just like, yeah, but what else would I rather do? That passion pushes you through.
To get through injuries in your thing is ridiculous. You're 3, 6, 9, 12 months away from doing the thing that you love to do every day, and you can see it, but you can't do it. Is really tough, and that doesn't exist outside of
sport.
Outside of high performance sports.
Yeah, I kind of noticed too, like, I guess stepping outside of professional rugby for a couple of years, and I was general manager of an organisation for a while, and then had a number of staff, some that had been high performance athletes, one had been an Olympian, and like just dealing with different people, like from a manager point of view, and with the athletes, it was so much easier to tell them, like, that's not good enough, like, we need to do this. They actually want that, but then people that aren't athletes, it's actually really hard to navigate that, because they're not used to being told. Because for me, I was like, I got told every day that that's not good enough, like, oh, you need to sort that out, swings, like, oh, swings, that pass was crap, or and you got used to hearing that, but equally you'd get praise when you did something good as well, but you got used to, I guess, living on the edge of, like, I need to be better, I've got to, you know, like, for lack of a better word, I've got to make the boat go faster, like, how do I do that? And how do I make the team win? How do I be better? So I guess as an athlete, you get those lessons, like, you get almost like a life cycle of lessons weekly. So it's like, okay, you start at this point, I've got this, like, as a business example, every Monday is like a startup, like, okay, I've got to get to this point, I've got to sell the product on Saturday, and then that's, you know, you start on Monday, you work through your week to peak and perform on Saturday to get the sale, as an example, and then you come back to Monday and you start again, and you bank what you took from last week and you add a little bit more, but it's the same kind of cycle, so you get, and then I think that's what makes time pass fast too, because you're just in it, and it's like next game, which often you kind of forget to reflect as well, because you're always thinking, like, okay, what do I need to do next? So it has its good sides, and it also at times you can get sort of stuck. That's not all rainbows and butterflies, but it builds good resilience. Like, that's one thing that I definitely took out of my professional career, was resilience.
Yeah, totally. I used to cycle when I was a teenager. I was like in the school team, had my little foray into competitive sport, and that was awesome as a teenager to experience that, because it was both, we used to do single lap road races and then team for time trials and stuff like that, all road racing, not the, never got into the velodrome, that scared me a bit. But it was such a great, like, life lesson thing of early morning, didn't want to do it, would have to do it every week. I was racing 5 times a week, training, like, I was just really, really intense, but amazing resilience, mental resilience too, when it was really fucking sore and everything hurt. But you keep going.
Yeah. That's a thing that I reckon I've missed the most about rugby when I finally fully stopped, because I played, still playing club rugby now, I played this year, but I'm 40 next year, so I played 21 years for my premier team for club rugby, which is a long time, but I'm really quite anxious to let go of that, being in the dark place and having to push yourself. Like, I really, really enjoy that each week, because you go out and the dark place, you get to that point sooner as you get older and you're less unfit, but you've got that resilience to be like, okay, I just need to get back up here.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm tired, but I need to do that job. I need to be here to pass, or I got to be there to make that tackle, and that resilience is built up. But I guess when the boots finally come off fully, that's the bit I'll miss the most. Because I think I'm still going to be involved. Well, I will definitely still be involved in the game. So I guess the camaraderie and the friendships are still going to be there from the sport, because in some way I'll be involved with the sport, but I'll miss the physical challenge of like, this really, really hurts, but I know I need to get up to do that. Not just for me, but for other people.
Yeah.
And going to watch on a Saturday rather than play.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah, it's hard when you don't. I think from watching from a coach perspective is a lot easier than from a spectator.
Yeah.
Because you're a part of what's happening. And then you're obviously, like, as you watch, you're taking lessons of like, okay, that player hasn't executed, this 3 times. Why not? What could I have done better to make sure that he knew that we should have done this in this scenario? And then you're like, okay, well, next week let's work towards that. And then you see him do it the next week, you're like, yes, cool. You ride that with him. Yeah. But when I just go and watch as a spectator, I almost don't, just because it gets frustrating. I'm like, I just want to go and do it.
Amazing.
Yeah. Is there anything that we haven't covered that?
I don't think so.
I think so. And awesome to chat.
Yeah.
We could probably sit here all afternoon.
Yeah.
Keep chatting.
Yeah.
Well, we've got to go get the kids, unfortunately. We've got school pick-up time.
Yeah.
It's one of those.
A balance thing again.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, Halloween was rough last night.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. Did they get into it up here?
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. It was not really anything we did as kids when I grew up.
No, neither.
Yeah.
It sort of infiltrated the culture a little bit here.
Yeah. I didn't actually realise it started in the UK either. In Ireland and England,
I'm going to say yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I just Googled it, I think yesterday, because I was like, where did trick-or-treating actually come from?
Yeah.
Because I thought it was American.
An American thing.
Yeah, it was Ireland and England. So
Yeah,
I was
right.
just like,
You
crazy.
know more about my history than me.
Yeah. Well, unless Google did me wrong, but yeah. But I guess from my point of view, it was really cool to sit down and to hear more to the story and to the brand, and I really respect what you guys are doing, and it's been really cool to, I guess, follow on from afar, with the just sort of watch the growth through social media. I guess one of the good things of social media is you can keep in touch a little bit more with things that you're aligned to, so it's quite cool to see, and I think it's a really, really cool product, and it fits with New Zealand culture really well, especially with my listeners, people that hunt and fish, and they really I guess resonate and connect around food, because ultimately that's why we start hunting and fishing, is to gather food, and there's lots of other really cool benefits to it in terms of mental health and catching up and spending time with your mates, and there's something I almost enjoy providing the food more than I do eating it myself. I love being able to go for a hunt and then come back and then share some venison to friends and family that never get the opportunity, and then they're like, oh my god, that was delicious, and snapper,
so cool.
and I give away more fish than I eat, because it's just a really cool gift to be able to give to people, and it's a great way to bring people together, so it's really cool that you guys have created such an awesome product to, I guess, boost that for generations to come.
Oh, thanks for the kind words.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been really awesome talking today.
Choice.